Él va a hablar y le van a traducir para
Pero lo puedo escuchar directamente en el micrófono.
Sí, sí, claro.
Gracias.
Eso creo. Una cosa que siempre se escucha. Sí, sí. Es que lo normal sería eso. Hablen en inglés y para.
Su atención, por favor. Para hacer las preguntas tiene que ser vía micrófono, porque el orador va a tener un receptor para recibirlo en español. ¿De acuerdo? O sea, todas las preguntas tienen que ir vía micrófono. Si no pedís una parada.
Porque era así por no era como se estaban viendo todo.
No, bueno, sí.
Bueno, voy a interrumpir.
Hola, hola. Hola, hola, hola. ¿Ahí sí? Sí. Cacho. Ponele Paul. Buenas tardes. Autoridades de la Universidad Champagnat, docentes, graduados, invitados especiales y público en general, muy buenas tardes. La Universidad Champagnat y la Universidad Nacional de San Juan se complacen en darles la bienvenida al Congreso Internacional de Ciencias de la Computación y Sistema de Información CICSI 2018. Este evento es la actividad académica de referencia de la región y pretende ubicarse entre las más importantes de la Argentina. Su objetivo es reunir anualmente a investigadores, profesionales y alumnos de diferentes países y promover un espacio para la difusión de los conocimientos generados en los ámbitos académicos y de la industria. En esta edición, el SICSI 2018, es organizado por la Facultad de Informática y Diseño de la Universidad Champagnat y coorganizado por la Universidad Nacional de San Juan. Se espera que con la realización en conjunto de estas dos universidades se potencie el intercambio entre investigadores, profesionales y estudiantes de informática, como así también de todos los participantes al evento. SICSI 2018 cuenta con 14 conferencias de expositores internacionales de la academia y la industria. Una conferencia magistral con la presencia de Alistair, cursos de primer nivel que fueron dictados en la Universidad Nacional de San Juan, reuniones de profesores de las áreas de ciencias de la computación y de ciencias de información, encuentros de investigadores, encuentros de graduados de la Universidad Champagnat, presentación de artículos científicos y pósters, encuentro de jóvenes estudiantes y stand de empresas. A continuación, invitamos a formar la mesa académica conformada por el señor rector de la Universidad Champagnat, licenciado Raúl Mercado. Al señor decano de la Facultad de Ciencias Exactas, Físicas y Naturales de la Universidad Nacional de San Juan, ingeniero Rodolfo Bloch. Pues así, sí. Al doctor Raimundo Forradela, presidente. ¿Eso? Al licenciado Augusto Cattaneo, presidente del Honorable Consejo Deliberante de Godoy Cruz. Al decano de la Facultad de Informática y Diseño, licenciado Fernando Pinciroli. Al director de la licenciatura en Sistemas de Información de la Facultad de Informática y Diseño de la Universidad Champagnat, licenciado Javier Rosenstein. A la directora de la licenciatura en Sistemas de la Facultad de Ciencias Exactas, Físicas y Naturales de la Universidad Nacional de San Juan, Magister María Inés Luz. A continuación, se dirigirá a los presentes el señor rector de la Universidad Champagnat, licenciado Raúl Mercado.
Hola, bueno, ahora sí. Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. La verdad que esta reunión tiene una combinación de muchos sentimientos, ¿sí? Sentimientos buenos, sentimientos positivos. En primer lugar, por las personas que nos visitan, el honor que tenemos, los reconocimientos que vamos a tener a personas que no solamente se destacan en lo intelectual, sino en lo personal. También la idea de lo que nosotros creemos que es la universidad. La universidad, de alguna manera, o la visión que tenemos de la universidad, tiene que ver con esto, algo que compartimos con Alejandro Giuffrida, que nos está acompañando, que es nuestro vicerrector académico, que tiene que ver con esto, tiene que ver con profesores, con investigación y con una conexión cercana con otras unidades académicas de la región y con los sectores de la industria, con los actores de la producción, ¿sí? Y por supuesto, con todos los actores que tienen que ver con los sectores, con los distintos sectores y con los alumnos y profesores. Universidad se acerca mucho a universal, ¿cierto? Tiene algún sentido amplio y por eso creemos que la universidad tiene que propender a esto, ¿sí? A la expansión del conocimiento, de la visión. La otra emoción que comparto es poder estar en una actividad que comenzó no hace tanto tiempo, esta revolución de la informática, y si nosotros nos ponemos a pensar, es una actividad relativamente nueva en su expansión. Recuerdo que cuando yo era estudiante, la mitad de mi carrera no teníamos computadoras. Me fui 2 años y cuando volví ya mis compañeros usaban computadoras para poder hacer estimaciones econométricas, yo soy economista, y cómo eso fue evolucionando hasta lo que es hoy la computación. Es difícil explicarle a nuestros hijos, ¿sí? Mis hijos me preguntan, papá, ¿qué hacías cuando no había computadoras? ¿Sí? Creo que poder compartir este evento de esta trascendencia para nuestra universidad es enorme. Así que quiero agradecer a Fernando, quiero agradecer a la Universidad de San Juan, también agradecer a Quique y a todos los que han podido colaborar para que esto, porque ha habido un equipo, ha habido un gran trabajo detrás de todo esto, que hoy nos honra, nos hace gozar y nos hace disfrutar. Así que bienvenidos y muchas gracias.
A continuación, escucharemos las palabras del señor decano de la Facultad de Ciencias Exactas, Físicas y Naturales de la Universidad Nacional de San Juan, ingeniero Rodolfo Bloch.
Muchas gracias, señor rector, querido Fernando, Quique, director, y por supuesto María Inés Lund, y en la persona de ellos saludo a todos los que están presentes, docentes, alumnos de ambas facultades, de ambas universidades, organizadoras y coorganizadoras de este SIGSI. Realmente es un gran gusto. El año pasado estuvimos acá, en esta misma sala, y dijimos que, bueno, celebrábamos la realización de este encuentro que tiene una trascendencia muy importante y que creo que gradualmente se va reconociendo esto, que es el reunir a los sectores de la disciplina que están, por un lado, en el ámbito académico, formando profesionales y realizando actividades de investigación, y por otro lado, la industria y las empresas aplicando estos conocimientos y también contribuyendo en lo suyo, digamos, a la investigación. Es decir, que hay un proceso ahí virtuoso, digamos, de realimentación, que nosotros valoramos enormemente porque creemos que es la única forma de poder tener resultados eficaces, digamos, en todos los sentidos. Y nosotros particularmente, desde la universidad, nos resulta absolutamente central esta actividad, ya que nos permite llevar al diseño de los programas de formación lo que es el mundo de la empresa, lo que es el mundo de la aplicación, lo que realmente las empresas están demandando de nuestros profesionales. Decíamos que el año pasado que el desafío, y lo hablábamos con el rector antes de entrar acá, el desafío es el sostener esta actividad, porque el año pasado fue la primera edición y como el propósito que compartimos y nos parece extremadamente importante es el de transformarse o de constituirse en una referencia regional, eso se logra en la medida en que podamos darle continuidad. Bueno, este año estamos en la segunda edición, así que lo celebramos enormemente. Si bien tiene antecedentes tanto en esta universidad como en la nuestra de congresos de distintos tipos, pero creo que con estas características esto tiene una personalidad propia. Así que bueno, vemos también con mucha satisfacción que el nivel del congreso, tanto en lo que se refiere a las actividades programadas que se están desarrollando como al nivel de los conferencistas, no solo no es inferior al del año pasado, sino que creo que ha superado la marca, lo cual es muy importante. Así que, y ha continuado con una característica que me parece muy importante porque es estimulante para quienes presentan trabajo, que es su publicación, y en el caso de los mejores, están diferenciados en bases de datos internacionales de reconocido prestigio. Este año abrimos una puerta más de este congreso, que es el capítulo San Juan. Es decir, pensamos que al ser un congreso de las dos universidades y coorganizado, tenía importancia que pudiéramos hacer algunas de las actividades de San Juan. Esto gracias al tesón, al esfuerzo y el compromiso de María Inés y su equipo. Lo quiero poner en la persona de ella, pero hay muchas personas que han colaborado desde San Juan, realmente haciendo muchas cosas a pulmón. Y en San Juan tuvimos cosas interesantes, como un curso muy bueno sobre agilismo, y también incorporamos a los actores que nombró la presentadora, es decir, profesionales, investigadores, alumnos, empresas. Invitamos al gobierno de la provincia, que nos parece muy enriquecedor, porque, bueno, ahí tenemos también, por una parte, un actor que tiene está aplicando la tecnología más avanzada posible al gobierno electrónico para brindar una herramienta de uso social de gran valor, y además de eso hay un aspecto fundamental que es el poder conseguir recursos para que nuestros egresados y nuestros estudiantes avanzados puedan generar su propio emprendimiento, digamos, iniciar el camino de la actividad empresarial. Muy cortito les cuento, en San Juan ha lanzado un programa realmente muy importante que se basa en el otorgamiento de subsidios a través de créditos fiscales. Están dirigidos por una parte a la constitución de nuevas empresas y por otra a las empresas ya constituidas que se radiquen en San Juan. En fin, para no ser tan extenso, todos estos temas los hemos estado tratando en San Juan. Tuvimos también la presencia del director general de la CESI, de la Cámara de Empresas de Software y Sistemas Informáticos de la Argentina, que, bueno, nosotros tenemos el orgullo de que su presidente actualmente es un sanjuanino, es Aníbal Carmona. Por ahí anda Emilce, la hermana, no sé dónde está sentada, por allá está. Y bueno, a través de él tuvimos la presencia del director general Mauro Buso, con el cual hubo realmente una charla muy enriquecedora con docentes, con egresados y con empresarios sanjuaninos que están tratando con mucho esfuerzo de abrirse paso en esta actividad. Así que bueno, para terminar, expresar un reconocimiento enorme a toda la organización, decirle a Fernando que esto nos produce ya el rector. No solo evaluamos el beneficio en los resultados institucionales, académicos, sino también en la relación entre las dos instituciones, que va trenzando lazos de afectos y de confraternidad que valoramos enormemente y que creemos que es un poco al modo de la tarjetita que me dio Alistair hace un ratito, donde él entiende que las cosas salen desde el corazón, ¿no? Con algunas consignas como son mejorar, colaborar, entregar y reflexionar. Creo que por ese camino es donde se consiguen los mejores resultados. Así que muchas gracias a todos y simplemente desear que el año que viene, por supuesto, podamos hacer el tercer SIGSI potenciado. Vamos a tratar de fortalecer las actividades en San Juan. Quizás inclusive podamos hacer que la parte de Mendoza pueda también, como hacemos nosotros, digamos, de aprovechar todas las actividades de acá, pudieran quizás ustedes también aprovechar las que vamos a hacer en San Juan. Así que bueno, eso y muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias. A continuación, el señor rector, el licenciado Raúl Mercado, entregará un reconocimiento al doctor Quique Forradelas. Un segundo, por favor.
En lo informático, ¿saben? Que algo puede fallar.
Bueno, me han dicho que amenizo un poco la espera y en vez de cantar hablo un poco. Bueno, les cuento mientras tanto lo que hicimos en San Juan. Lunes y martes tuvimos un curso de agilismo con bastante afluencia de docentes y de alumnos realizándolo. Quedaron muy contentos. El profesor, el instructor de acá de Mendoza, Claudio Ibáñez, que bueno, una actividad muy, muy dinámica y muy entretenida. Después, el día lunes, por la tarde, tuvimos toda la jornada con el Estado, donde el Estado vino a contarnos todos sus proyectos, desafíos, emprendimientos en los que están trabajando y a los que quieren llegar. Son un equipo importante que están trabajando en forma transversal a todos los ministerios y secretarías de Estado de la provincia, con la idea de una modernización importante en el Estado. Está para nosotros con mucha gratificación porque este equipo está fuertemente conformado por egresados de nuestras carreras. Así que, bueno, nosotros como dueños de casa nos ponemos un poquito gorditos. Y después el segundo día, el martes por la tarde, tuvimos, como dijo el decano de la facultad, al director general de la CESI, donde nos vino a contar todo el empleo que se viene, el empleo 4.0, y que son todos aquellos empleos que todavía no existen y que dentro de 20 años nuestros hijos o algunos de nuestros nietos tengan esos empleos, ya no van a haber tantos médicos o ingenieros, todas estas carreras que uno por ahí nos han inculcado a estudiar todas estas carreras duras, ¿no? O tradicionales. Mi hijo el doctor, o mi hijo el ingeniero, bueno, van a ser todos empleos que quizás en este momento no existen. Y bueno, también estuvo hablando el director de Innovación Tecnológica y Productiva de la provincia. Bueno, nos contó bueno, los proyectos que están embarcados con una oficina que se llama San Juan Tech, con la idea de estar capacitando a todo aquel que lo desee, interesados, chicos, adolescentes, en tecnologías como robótica o Internet de las cosas. Entonces son gratuitas, entonces con la idea de captar a estos chicos que están en el secundario, saliendo del secundario, involucrarlos en las tecnologías de la información. Y bueno, finalmente tuvimos un debate importante. Nosotros en San Juan tenemos la Cámara de Empresas de Software, en la CACETIC, con varias empresas integrantes que estuvieron presentes, un grupo de egresados, un grupo de Estado también estaban, y docentes de la casa. Y se armó un interesante debate, bueno, de lo que necesitan, de lo que esperan, de lo que se viene, con la idea de fortalecer las carreras, digamos, que los chicos terminan sus carreras, que hay muchísimo trabajo y todos los años estamos en déficit en la demanda de puestos de trabajo que nos ofrecen y que no tenemos en todo el país. Entonces, me viene Fernando a salvarme los pasos. Bueno, así es. La verdad que fue muy lindo y bueno, con la idea de poder hacer, a lo mejor así como estamos aquí, porque tenemos esta sociedad de empresa academia, incorporar al Estado en este círculo virtuoso del sábado del Estado, en la industria y la academia. Nada más, se acabó.
Son las formalidades que tenemos que hacer juntas y por favor esperen un segundo. Viste el acta de fecha 18 de octubre de 2018 del Consejo Superior de la Universidad Champagnat y considerando que en la sesión ordinaria de la fecha referida, habiéndose dado cumplido al procedimiento establecido en el artículo 12 de la Ordenanza General Universitaria, el Consejo Superior resolvió otorgar al doctor Raimundo Martínez, hoy estamos complicados, el reconocimiento académico por sus destacados aportes a la comunidad científica, académica y profesional de la Argentina. Que el doctor Raimundo Quique Corradela es doctor ingeniero en el programa de inteligencia artificial por la Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, España, y cuenta con el postdoctorado de la Universidad Politécnica de Valencia, en el programa Torres Quevedo, Doctores en la Industria. Es docente universitario desde 1972 en prestigiosas universidades de España y profesor invitado en diversas universidades a nivel internacional. que en su trayectoria se destacan, entre otros importantes logros, los siguientes. Director del proyecto Architect desde 2008, coordinador de los proyectos de América Latina, formación académica Alfa, UE, redes Logic, LOAL, Alpimes y redes X e instituciones de América Latina. Docente, investigador, acreditado desde 1994. Director de proyectos acreditados desde 1994 en la Universidad Nacional de Cuyo y Universidad Nacional de San Juan. Miembro de Comisión CONICET Informática y Comunicaciones. Director de Investigaciones asociado y adjunto y de becarios CONICET. Director de los proyectos ECOS, Francia, Argentina, Universidad Nacional de Cuyo y universidades francesas. Autor y coautor en libros, publicaciones en journals, revistas científicas especializadas y una significativa cantidad de relevantes publicaciones en congresos y revistas especializadas. Por ello, de acuerdo a lo dispuesto en el artículo 9, inciso J del Estatuto de la Universidad Champagnat, aprobado por una resolución 2442 del 2013 del Ministerio de Educación de la Nación, el rector de la Universidad Champagnat resuelve: otórguese al doctor Raimundo Corradelas Martínez el reconocimiento académico de la Universidad Champagnat por sus destacados aportes a la comunidad científica, académica y profesional de la Argentina. Que es un amigo de la casa. Ahora el doctor Corradelas entregará un reconocimiento al profesor Hugo Riqueboer y lo recibirá su hija Agustín. Vista el acta de fecha 18 de octubre de 2018 del Consejo Superior de la Universidad Champagnat y considerando que en la sesión ordinaria de la fecha referida, habiéndose dado cumplimiento al procedimiento establecido en el artículo 12 de la Ordenanza General Universitaria, el Consejo Superior resolvió otorgar al doctor Hugo Emilio Julio Ludovico Riqueboer el reconocimiento académico por sus destacados aportes a la comunidad científica, académica y profesional de la Argentina en el campo de su especialidad, habiendo sido también distinguido con numerosos reconocimientos por parte de prestigiosas instituciones. Por ello, de acuerdo a lo dispuesto en el artículo 9, inciso J del Estatuto de la Universidad de Champagnat, el Ministerio de Educación de la Nación resuelve: el rector de la Universidad de Champagnat resuelve: otórguese al doctor Hugo Emilio Julio Ludovico Riqueboer el reconocimiento académico de la Universidad de Champagnat por sus destacados aportes a la comunidad científica, académica y profesional de la Argentina.
Toca a mí entonces dar por iniciado este congreso, pero antes quiero tomar un segundito de Raúl respecto de los sentimientos. Y bueno, me voy a poner entre nostálgico y melancólico.
En el año 72, bueno, yo estuve haciendo mi carrera de ingeniería, parte en San Juan, y luego me fui a la UBA, y allí trabajé en ferrocarriles en el año 70, en temas de teleprocesamiento. ¿Se imaginan los que están ahora en el año 70 hablar de teleprocesamiento? Sistemas de asignación de vagones, sistemas de investigación operativa. Bueno, aquí trabajamos en Fortran y procesábamos en los equipos de cómputo IBM que tenía la Facultad de Ingeniería del Paseo Colón. Entonces allí yo me introduje en una asignatura que se llamaba Introducción a la Computación Digital. Curiosamente, me interesó tanto que me postulé para ayudar en el año 72. Y lo más curioso de esto, que lo traigo a referencia, es que me asignaron un curso, y en ese curso estaba el profesor Rico. Yo no lo conocí, no había sido profesor mío, yo lo conocí ahí en ese momento. Entonces, bueno, la primera clase que me toca ahí ya estaban avanzados. En ese momento, recuerdo que estaban dando algo de Fortran, las sentencias, if, then else, while, qué sé yo, para no utilizar con tú. Bueno, el profesor dio un ejercicio que ustedes imaginarán, tipo Boer, que lo conoce, que más que un ejercicio era un acertijo, ¿no? Era realmente interesante, muy creativo. Bueno, lo propuso, por supuesto los alumnos no, y dice, bueno, a ver, tú eres el jefe de trabajo práctico aquí, lo tienes que hacer. Fue el primer desafío y el primer introducción que yo tuve con esto. Bueno, me tocó hacerlo y lo tuve que hacer satisfactoriamente. Bueno, desde ahí hemos compartido muchas actividades con Hugo, muy gratificantes, muy satisfactorias. Y bueno, lo recuerdo con mucho cariño y le transmito todo esto. Bien, entonces, un agradecimiento muy fuerte a las autoridades, al Congreso. Yo realmente estoy muy satisfecho de esto. Valoro muchísimo el trabajo que desarrollan, porque montar un evento de este tipo realmente es muy laborioso. El trabajo de Fernando, el trabajo de Marinés con todo su equipo, la gente que lo acompaña desde aquí, desde San Juan. Y bueno, yo les deseo que tengan el mayor éxito y la continuidad de estas actividades, y de esta forma doy por iniciado el Congreso de Ciencia Internacional de Ciencia de la Computación y Sistema de Información 2018.
Bueno, nos queda poco ya para escuchar a Alistair. A continuación se le entregará la distinción de profesor honorífico de la Universidad Champagnat al señor Alistair Cockburn. Entrega el licenciado Pincidoli. Antes voy a leer la resolución en donde se determinó lo siguiente. Vista el acta de fecha 18 de octubre de 2018 del Consejo Superior de la Universidad Champagnat, y considerando que en la sesión ordinaria de la fecha referida, habiéndose dado cumplido al procedimiento establecido en el artículo 12 de la Ordenanza General Universitaria, el Consejo Superior resolvió otorgar al doctor Alistair Cockburn la distinción de profesor honorífico de la Universidad Champagnat. Que el doctor Alistair cuenta con destacados aportes científicos en el campo de la informática, entre los que se destacan la invención de la escala de Cockburn para categorizar proyectos de software, la creación de las metodologías de la familia Cristal, que se consideran ejemplos de las metodologías ágiles, y el desarrollo de Hexagonal Architecture, como una solución a problemas tradicionales de estratificación, acoplamiento y enredo en el software. Que además, el Dr. Cockburn es autor de numerosos libros ampliamente difundidos en la academia y en la industria del software, y ha sido también distinguido diversos reconocimientos por parte de prestigiosas instituciones. Por ello, de acuerdo a lo dispuesto en el artículo 9, inciso J del Estatuto de la Universidad de Champagnat, aprobado por resolución 2442/13 del Ministerio de Educación de la Nación, el rector de la Universidad de Champagnat resuelve: otórguese al doctor Alistair Cockburn la distinción de profesor honorífico de la Universidad Champagnat por su invalorable aporte a la comunidad informática internacional. Comuníquese. Un aplauso para Alistair, por favor. Bueno, ya vamos a dar comienzo a la conferencia. Gracias.
That's okay. I can start, right? I'm going to speak in English, and my slides are in Spanish. Escuchaba castellano, más o menos un poco. Porteño, porteño. No de Mendoza, no de Córdoba. Buenos Aires. The first thing I would say, thank you. It's really a nice honor to be here and receive this award. It's very special. It's the first of such a thing I've ever had in my life. It's very strange. It's very interesting. So I just want to check. I'm going to talk for about an hour about things that I've been working on lately, things that I see in the world, things that I read from other people and put together. But I want to check the microphone. The microphone is okay. There at the back. For my translator. So I check also about languages. Let's see. Is there anybody here who does not speak really English? You really want the Spanish version? Raise your hand if you really want the Spanish version. This is the first test of the translation, right? Let's see if my translator is able to ask. Raise your hand if you want to hear this in Spanish. Nobody wants to hear this in Spanish, or nobody understands anything I said. A little bit of test right there. Okay, so you understand what I said. The next thing that I would say is we have a request for earbuds over here. Although the name looks like it's pronounced Cockburn, it's pronounced Coburn. It's a Scottish name. The CK isn't pronounced. And there's a very nice port wine from Portugal. It's called Coburn's Port. And they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in advertising, teaching people how to pronounce my name, which is very nice. So I return the favor, and I can recommend the sport wine. It's very nice. Coven sport, of course. Okay, so I don't have 2 hands. So this thing that I'm going to talk about today, I call it the heart of Agile. Of course, has nothing to do with software. So always I like to find out what kind of people we have in the room. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you some questions. You can raise your hand. How many people understand English? Thank you very much for that question. The next thing, how many people from here really are from Mendoza or this province? Wow. How many people are from Argentina but not from this province? That's the same hands. The same people. How many people are from Latin America but not from Argentina? How many are not from Latin America anywhere? They're all from Latin America. Very, very nice. Excellent, excellent. Now let's try the next question. I always do this, some variation. How many people here have never programmed in their life? Have never programmed in their life? Yeah, maybe. Okay, very good. So this talk is for you, right? So the reason is, it was an accident of history that in 2001, a group of programmers decoded something very interesting. And so they called it the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. But in fact, it's a completely general set of ideas that apply outside of anything to do with software. It applies to anything outside of product. It has to do with every sort of initiative that you might do. If it's a government project, a construction project, a humanitarian project, an ecology project, any kind of project, any kind of initiative, has the same properties, and that's what I'm going to describe to you in the next hour. So I want to be clear that what I am talking about has nothing to do with software, nothing to do with projects, has everything to do with every kind of human initiative that you want to undertake. Even the word agile doesn't fit anymore, because when we talk about this, it's not about agility, it's about being effective in a team. You might call it teamwork 2.0 or something like that. So, although the title says the heart of Agile, if I write a book about this, it would be called Operating from the Heart of Agile. It's a motor that helps you get to some destination you'd like, to have an impact on the world. So I'm going to go through that today. I'm going to go through. We started in 2001, we wrote the Agile Manifesto. It had 4 values. It's very short, but still it's kind of complicated. 1 name, 4 values, 12 principles. Over the years, if we start from like 1990, over on the left, this nice slide from Pierre Hervouet. In the 90s, there were half a dozen different methodologies for object-oriented programming, alternative ways of running software projects, extreme programming, Scrum, FDD, DSDM, my stuff, Crystal, and so on. In 2001, we did a simplification, and we put them all together, and we said there's something common here. We gave it the name Agile. We wrote the manifesto. And then after that, there were many new ideas, many new methodologies came. And there was an explosion of ideas. And so, as Pierre Hervouet observed, about 3-4 years ago, I did another simplification. And I said, honestly, you really only need 4 words for everything. You collaborate, you deliver, you reflect, you improve. Colaborar, mejorar, entregar. Colaborar, entregar, mejorar. I can't speak. Colaborar, entregar, reflexionar, mejorar. There, I can do that. Bien. So this is interesting because I've been living with these 4 words for about 3 or 4 years now. And living just with these 4 words has changed everything about the way that I operate, the way that I talk about Agile, the way that I teach. The classes are different now than they were 5 years ago, because by making the simplification to these 4 words, it turns out it also makes it much bigger, much richer, and much easier, and much more effective. So that's the interesting thing I'm going to show you today. So I have here a list. I'm a certified Scrum trainer, and I teach, the Scrum Alliance Certified Scrum Master class. And the last time that I got accredited, they had a spreadsheet with 104 learning objectives. And I had to fill out on the spreadsheet, for each learning objective, on which slide or in which exercise did I deliver this learning objective, right? Like that. It seems crazy because we wrote 4 sentences in 2001 and I have 104 learning objectives here, right? And I can explain to you why that happens. There's a reason why all these things happen. But in any case, that's like, people are afraid to touch Agile these days because Scrum comes with 104 learning objectives and people feel like they're tied up in a straitjacket and they have to walk like this, And that's not what we intended. It's not what the authors of Scrum intended when they created Scrum. Just for fun, because I like to try to make this fun, even though I'm speaking more slowly than usual. I found online, if you don't want to do the whole 104 learning objectives, it says right here, Scrum certification, $29. Be Scrum certified online in 1 hour. 100% pass rate or refund. Okay, so you can choose, you can take the difficult road, or you can take the easy road. I never clicked on that link, so I don't know what's behind it, but I saw it. So we're looking for something in between, right? Not too big, not too little. In order to describe what I'm going to talk about, I have to talk about the progression of learning, Shuhari. So this is a model that I saw in Aikido, in Japanese martial arts. It's a perfectly general model. It applies to every kind of skills acquisition. So it starts off when you somebody asks you to do something. You never had done this before. It could be that your first time making bread. It could be the first time designing a web page. It could be the first time doing anything. And so you say, how do I do that? I'm going to make bread for the first time. How do I do that? And so somebody gives you a recipe. You copy the recipe. The first time you copy the recipe, you don't make any changes. You don't ask any questions. You just copy the recipe. This happens for everything. Children tying shoelaces, me baking bread, somebody in a technical role, completely general. Yeah? They call this shu in Japanese. Shu means follow. So you follow the recipe. Now in English, the word shu, as you know, means shoe. So we make lots of jokes about shoe. Like when I first came up with this, somebody said, one shoe cannot fit all. Somebody else said, oh, you gurus are always arguing about whose shoe is better than whose, right? So I like to talk about the shoe box. When you buy a pair of shoes, it comes in a box. In Argentina, do shoes come in boxes? Yes. But it might come in bags. Then I would have to call it a shoe bag. Then I would be in trouble. But it's a shoe box. What happens is somebody learns a technique and they copy it very exactly. They get good at it. And now they never want to learn another technique. It's like they're trapped in the shoe box. They're in a box, they make a nest, they're very comfortable, they never want to change. They're going to be like this the rest of their life. I want to illustrate how this happens. This is like amazing. Everybody does this in all of the world. So some of you ladies don't have shoelaces. I don't have shoelaces either. But we're going to talk about shoelaces, cordones, no? Yeah. There are 2 main ways to tie shoelaces. The first way, now's when I need a hands-free microphone. It doesn't matter. The first way, you tie a half a knot. Yes, you people who tie shoelaces. Then you make a loop like this, and you go around. We call that the tree. Then you go around the tree. You make a little hole. You push the loop through the hole, and you pull it tight. That's a shoelace. We call that round the tree through the hole. How many people here, the way you tie shoelaces is round the tree and through the hole? Raise your hand. Let's see. Check Argentina. Okay. The other main way to tie shoelaces is you tie a half a knot, and you make a loop, another loop we call those bunny ears, you know, rabbit ears. Okay. So you make 2 bunny ears, and then you tie another half knot. It's very easy. You make a half knot, 2 bunny ears, another half knot. How many people here use the 2 bunny ear method? Raise your hands. Ah, less than half. Interesting. But now here's where it gets interesting. If you do the around the tree through the hole, raise your hand if you have never tried the 2 bunny ear method. Be honest. How many of you have never tried the 2 bunny ear method? Okay, some hands go up. Right, honest people. Now, suppose if you do the 2 bunny ear method, raise your hand if you have never tried around the tree and through the hole. Raise your hand, be honest. Okay, so after this class, we're going to do some cultural exchange. Yeah, find somebody who does the other method and have them show you how to tie the shoelaces the other way. I promise you, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. So you see, something as simple as tying the shoelaces, you are all trapped in the shoebox. You learn one technique, and then you never change the rest of your life. You will do always 2 bunny ears your whole life, right? So now you have to jump from the first level shu to the second level. The second level is ha. Ha in Japanese means break. So you break the recipe, and now you start a second stage of learning, and that is to collect techniques. You learn round the tree through the hole. You learn 2 bunny ears. You break a shoelace, and now you learn a half bow. You learn, I don't know, many different ways of doing shoelaces. Yeah. If you're baking bread, you learn 1 bread recipe, then 2 bread recipes, and then brown bread, and then flat bread, and then this bread and that bread, and I don't know. So that's the second stage of learning. The third stage is when you've done this so many times that it is automatic. Now, when people reach the third stage is called read. Read means leave. You leave the dojo, right? This came from Aikido. So you leave the dojo. You've learned everything from the main teacher. People who are at the third level work automatically. They don't think about it. They do it different every time. Did you ever see a good cook? Some of you are good cooks. And you look in the refrigerator and you find some things and you mix some of this and some of that and some of this. Then somebody asks, oh, that was really good. Can you give me the recipe? You go, I don't know. This is read. I was in Germany, in Bavaria, and I wanted to learn how to make strudel. You guys know what strudel is, right? Strudel is quite difficult to make. But I was in Bavaria, and this lady said, I'm making strudel today. And I said, good. And I got my piece of paper out. I was going to take notes. How do you make strudel? So she takes the flour, and she just pours it on the counter, and she makes kind of a pyramid, round pyramid of flour. She punches a little hole, like a volcano. She takes an egg, she breaks an egg in there. She mixes it a little bit. Then she starts putting water on like this. And rolling and rolling and rolling. I need 2 hands, see? And then some minutes later, she has strudel. And I haven't written anything down because I don't know what to write down. So I asked her afterwards, about how much flour did you put? And I thought she would say, like 500 grams or something like that. She said, you saw. Well, that's not very useful, but okay, so that's all right. 1 egg. I can do 1 egg. And then, how much water did you put? And she said, oh, you'll feel it. It'll be good. You'll know. I go, no, I have no idea. I have no idea. So this is read, right? This is very, very good read kind of thing. My favorite read story, though, was my wife when my son was about 10 years old, and we were living in the U.S., and my son is very active. So he was about 10 or 12. I said, we'll make some bread this afternoon. It's very good to make bread. It's good. So my son, and he's banging on it, he's picking it up, and he's throwing it on the counter, to get the gluten going. Bang, bang, bang. And I called my wife. This is in the U.S., so of course she's on the highway driving, a van, soccer mom, van, all that stuff, highway. So I call her up and I say, what temperature should I set the oven to? And she said, it needs more water. And you get that, right? She's driving down the highway. She heard the sound of beep, beep in the background. And she said, it needs more water. That's real, okay? And I listened and I could actually hear. It was too dry. That was amazing to me. Okay, so what temperature do I set the oven, etc. Okay, that's real. So the problem is, real level people have a fundamental contradiction with shoe level people. The shoe level people say, give me a recipe, it must work every time. I'm not going to ask any questions, I copy it exactly. The real level people, they do it differently every time. Every situation is different, a little different. So the shoe level people, they ask a real level person, how do I do that? And the real level person says, well, it depends. We'll see. Trust me. It'll be good. Right? That's real. And the shoe level person's terrified. Right? They want the answer. What are you going to do 3.5 weeks from now? I don't know. Something. Right? So there's a fundamental contradiction. We have to recognize this. That the people who enter will ask for a shoe level recipe. Yeah? So you guys are starting with Agile, you say, give me a shoe level recipe. And now Scrum shows up with 104 learning objectives. Very nice shoe level recipe, right? Same thing, shoe level recipe for these things. The people who've been around for a while go, you don't need all of those things, it's too complicated. You don't have to follow a recipe. And the beginners go, yeah, but I want to follow a recipe. Yeah. Shoe Hari. This is very important. And that's why I talk about this all the time. You have to understand this progression and the contradiction between shoe and read. An example, I love giving examples. My friend Jeff Patton wrote a book called Story Mapping. Has anybody here heard of Story Mapping from Jeff Patton? It's a kind of a sort of a requirements project management technique like this. It took Jeff Patton like 12 years to write the book. He started in 2003. The book came out in 2016 or some number like this. I spent the summer of 2006 trying to help him finish that book. Right? I wanted my name on the book, then I'm a co-author, then they can teach it, and it's all very good. And he had 300 pages, none of which described how to do story mapping. This book was on story mapping technique. Doesn't matter what it is, he didn't have it. So he'd come back from a trip, and we would go to the coffee shop. And I'd say, okay, Jeff, today, write the chapter on story mapping. We just need one more chapter, the chapter on story mapping. And he said, but I did it differently this time. I go, yeah, man, yeah. Shoe Hari, yes, Shoe Hari. Write it down. We need the book. Write it down. He said, but if I write it down, people will believe that they have to do it that way. I go, yes, it's called shoe. Yes, Shoe Hari, write it down. Write it down. Every time. He never wrote it down because every time he came back, he said, no, but I did it differently this time. I go, yes, shoe, baby, shoe. Give me some shoe. And he was reading. He could not write it down. It took him 12 years. Finally, the way he wrote the book, he dictated it to a guy on the phone who wrote everything down and quick published it before he changed his mind. So there's the book. That's Shoe Hari. Okay, but what I was looking for was one step more than this. So what happens is, after people have been in the business for a long time, like 10, 15, 20 years, they always say, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Really, you only have to do the basics. Just learn the basics, yeah? And I've noticed this in every field. People do this, usually after the age of 50, sometimes they get old. When I was young, I said, oh, these guys, they got old. Okay, so you guys, has anybody seen the movie Karate Kid? The old one with Mr. Miyagi? Raise your hand if you've seen it, just so you know. Has anybody not seen it? You see, now I'm waiting. One day I'm going to give this talk, and it will be all young people who've never seen Karate Kid, the first one, right? So you remember Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi right? Wax on, wax off. I need two hands again. Wax on, wax off. Paint my fence. Paint my fence. Wax on. This is Kokoro. This means just master the basics. And then the kid gets frustrated and he says, but Mr. Miyagi, when are you going to teach me to fight? Oh, I already taught you to fight. You just wax on, wax off, paint the fence. So real people are very annoying because they always say, it depends. I can't tell you. Kokoro level people are really annoying because they say, just master the basics. Just master the basics. Yes, but what about this? But what about that? Just master the basics. Okay? And I have a friend in Serbia. His name is George Babic. I talk about him all the time. He was in the circus. He was the strong guy in the circus, right? Holding people up like that. And he now does a thing he calls yoga. I don't call it yoga, it's what he calls yoga. I'll tell you why. Because he's super strong, obviously, yeah? So he pushes himself up to a handstand. And then he slowly lowers himself down to horizontal on his hands. And then he goes over on the one arm, horizontal. And then he goes back to two arms, horizontal. And then he goes back up to a handstand, and he calls that yoga. Don't ask me, I'm not doing his yoga. So he told me, very interesting, he said, Alistair, I like this Kokoro, it's what I do. If I see a move that I like, usually I can do it. But if I can't do it, I never practice the move. I always practice the basics until I can do the move. He said, I teach advanced yoga. You can imagine what his advanced yoga class is like. Yeah. And the people say to me, but George, when are you going to teach us something advanced? And he says, how can I teach you anything advanced? You can't even do the basics yet. Right? So I take tango. You guys know, I take tango. I've been taking tango since 2013 or something, 4 or 5 years. And they always teach you these steps. Passos, right? I can't remember them. Now I only look for Kokoro level teachers. We went to tango last night here in Mendoza. The guy was excellent. All we did for 1.5 hours to walk and try to keep the same distance without touching each other. Right? This is Kokoro level tango. If you can't do that, you can't do tango. If you can't do that, you can do tango. That's Kokoro, right? Master the basics, the basics, the basics. So Kokoro level people are very annoying because they won't teach you anything. They just say master the basics. So that's what I'm going to do to you guys right now. These are the basics for any initiative you're doing. Software, product, humanitarian, government, I don't care what. Collaborate, deliver, reflect, improve. If you do the collaboration better, if you collaborate better, things will go better. If you collaborate worse, things will go worse. Obvio, as they say in Argentina. I like Argentina. You always can tell somebody from Argentina because they always go, claro. And a little they go, obvio. Then you know they're from Argentina. Entrega is the deliver is more difficult. It's technical. And by deliver, I don't mean deliver a big package at the very end. Actually, we do tiny another word. A synonym for deliver would be probe. The thing is this, and this is what I'll talk about next. The world is different than you think. And you have a brilliant idea, or your boss has a brilliant idea, and it's wrong, but you don't know where. You don't know how. It's just not quite right, because the world is different than you think. So you have to keep sticking your finger in the world all the time to find out, okay, it's like this, no, it's like this, no, it's like this, all the time. So when I say deliver, there's a synonym there, which is probe the world. You have to deliver something into the world to find out how the world is. Yeah? So we'll talk about that. Reflexionar, I put there separate from mejorar because people don't stop to think. You have to actually stop. So in Scrum, they say inspect and adapt. In my books, I say reflective improvement. Right? It's two concepts put together. It's too big. So I've separated it. Stop. Reflect. Then decide how to improve. Now, so that's the wax on, wax off. right? But you say, but Alistair, how does it scale? We have a giant corporation with 3,000 people in 7 countries. And I know what I'm going to answer you? Collaborate. Yeah, but how? I don't know. I'm not in a 7,000 person company, but you are. You know how to collaborate, right? The good thing is this. You all know how to collaborate. I don't have to teach you how to collaborate. You may not want to, but you know how. I hear that little voice in my head sometimes. I was taking a shower, and I had 2 problems this last summer. One was we were designing the website for the Heart of Agile, and I was having a little communication difficulty with the account manager on the other side. And I wrote to there's an Argentinian woman who's part of this Heart of Agile stuff, Soledad Pinter, from Buenos Aires, now working in Europe. And so I wrote to her and I said, I'm having trouble, with this person. We exchanged some emails and it's not going very well. And she said, did you walk over and talk to her? And I went, how do you translate that? I want to know how she translated that. And I didn't walk over and talk to her. So obviously I had to walk over and talk to her, right? There was another guy, I had been sending him emails and he wasn't answering. And I was in the shower, I was going like, well, I did my part, right? He's just not answering. He's a skunk, right? I don't care anymore. And then I heard this little voice in my head. You may not want to, but you know how. Now I have to write another email, call him something, right? I don't have to teach you how to collaborate. You know how, right? So this is the Kokoro. Kokoro, I have this. I have a tattoo of Reed right here, and then I found Kokoro. I had to get a second tattoo. Now I don't want any more levels because I don't want any more tattoos. By the way, in case you didn't know it, tattoos hurt. So I don't like tattoos. I don't want any more levels. But I have Kokoro here. Okay, good. So this is Kokoro, and in Japan it would be Aja no Kokoro. Corazon de la agilidad. So because Kokoro means essence or heart. So I chose the heart of Agile. Right? This is the essence. These 4 words, it's all you need. Now, with the time that I have, I'm going to show you some of the expansion of this, because when you make it so simple with just these 4 words, really it becomes bigger, which is very strange. I want to show you some of the interesting things that you get when you work from just these 4 words. So there is, if you take collaboration, if you ask, how can we improve collaboration? You have to get into a discussion of culture. You have to get into a discussion about trust. If you're going to talk about trust and collaboration, you end up having to talk about financial rewards. You have to talk about the annual appraisals. The executives in most big companies are given bonus plans that are conflicting. One executive is given a bonus based on the quality of something, and another one is given a bonus based on sales or quantity. And you can't do both, and the 2 fight, right? There's no way for these 2 people to collaborate. In other words, if you don't get the bonus, the incentives program for the executives correct, it puts a strict upper limit on the amount of collaboration you can get, right? I just want to show you that if we take the word Agile away, we take away the word Scrum, we take away all these words, and we only have the word collaborate, we get to some very interesting topics of conversation that I'm going to show you. But one of them is, what are the bonus plans for the executives? So when somebody says to me, hey, Alistair, what do you think of SAFe? What do you think of Scrum at Scale? What do you think of LeSS? I go, does it talk about executive bonus plans or not? If not, it's not Scale. Scale means it has to go across divisions of a large corporation. It has to get into rewards. If we talk about the annual appraisal, if one of the top 2 questions is not how well does this person collaborate, then you aren't going to get collaboration. Right? It puts an upper limit on collaboration. So you see, just by asking for more collaboration, we suddenly end up discussing annual appraisals, bonus plans, executive, right, remuneration, all of that sort of stuff. So we'll go through some of these. I won't have time to go through all of these. Continue to expand. I haven't translated all of these into Spanish yet. I think Sola probably has. So I'll just pick out a couple super important pieces here. The idea that I want to get is this very strange idea. If you're in a car factory, let's say in the US in the 1960s, and you're making a car, I always choose white Ford Fairlane, it's a kind of a car. In those days, the idea was it didn't matter how many car parts you had in the factory. Car parts in the factory cost nothing. Somebody was going to buy the car, right? So they call that, all the car parts in the factory, they call internal inventory. And you can see now, we have a translator giving some of you guys words. I have to give this talk in Spanish next week. And so we're looking for words, because I know English, so I write the words in English. So we're looking for words in Spanish, and some of these are really quite, they don't translate very well, right? But okay, decisiones autovalidadas, inventario interno, right? What in mental work corresponds to car parts? And the answer is decisions. So if you're doing mental work in any organization, for any initiative of any kind, somebody has an idea, and they say, we ought to do this. Then they made a decision. They probably made 5 decisions when they set this up. After they make the 5, some more people start working. They build on those decisions, they make more decisions, they give decisions to other people. Everybody makes decisions. Everybody is waiting on somebody for some decision. So all of you can think of in your company, who in your organization, everybody is waiting on for a decision. That person in manufacturing terminology is called a bottleneck station. There's somebody who's always traveling or over busy, has an inbox full of requests for decisions, and everybody's waiting, right? So we can borrow all of manufacturing terminology, all of the mathematics of manufacturing fits perfectly for decision making. It's amazing. So if you look, when I now look at an organization, I see decisions being made by everybody. And you can look at the flow of these things. And we can borrow from Toyota, lean manufacturing, all of that stuff in mental work. It's really quite amazing. So here's the idea, is that in most organizations, and we'll take product development, software development, why not? And so people write 300 pages of requirements, we have to have all of this stuff. Now, one of the things that's strange is that people make mistakes. I think I had it on this slide here. People make mistakes at the rate of 1 in 5 in decision making. So there are several different sources for this number. I don't care, 1 in 5, 1 in 10, less than 1 in 20, right? Smaller number. So if you have 300-page document with, it's probably got 10,000 decisions inside of it, and you've got errors of 1 in 5 or 1 in 10, you've got, let's say, 800 to 1,000 errors. And I recently saw a report, or heard of a report from Capers Jones, who's been doing studies of software for decades. And he says in most projects, 20% of the requirements are either wrong or never used. 20%. So that's 1 in 5. Think about that. So you write 300 pages, 20% of it is wrong or never used, and you don't know where. You can't know where. That's the whole point, because you haven't tried any of this stuff out yet. So if you look at this is the decisions in a software place. Huge requirements document that comes out, and it's called the Tamaño de Lote Grande, right? Batch transfer size, Tamaño de Lote, right? Has a large batch transfer size, and the reason they don't do this in any manufacturing plant anymore is it has very bad properties, especially when you have rework, right? You find some mistakes, right? You write 1 million lines of code, you give it to the testers, they find 3,000 errors. They throw 3,000 errors back on the programmers. The programmers are trying to do new work. They've got 3,000 errors to sort through. Everything comes to a stop, right? The mathematics is the same. If you do production or if you do mental work, it's the same. So what we're trying to do and what you see in the agile world is we convert these into small pieces, right? Tamaño de lote chico. And so we have small requests for new features, user stories, small things, tiny bits of programming, 1,000 lines of code, not 1 million lines of code. You find 3 errors, that's okay. You fix 3 errors, it's not a problem. 2, 3 errors is not a problem. And you ship it, and then the world says, nah, we don't like that. But that's okay, it was only 1,000 lines of code, or 10,000. It wasn't 1 million. So you get the feedback, right? The network properties of this system are much better than the previous one. So you're converting, I have to practice this word, embotellamientos. Embotellamientos. Now, if I go to Chile and I say embotellamientos, do you think they will understand me? No, because it's, I have to say embotellamientos. Embotellamientos. I should change my accent next week. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, but that's super important because at the bottom of all mental work are decisions. Everything comes off of decisions. This is like the base layer of everything. People make errors in decisions at 1 in 5 or 1 in 10. The question is, how can we catch those errors quickly, more quickly than otherwise? That's the search. Everything is based around that. Now, I'm going to do one more thing here around these decisions and talk about Big Bang integration. You know, kind of like a waterfall project, but it doesn't have to be a waterfall project. And then we say, you can read the Spanish, I don't have to try to pronounce that for you. The idea here is that everybody's working, but because they're not delivering anything into the world, they actually are not learning very much. The decisions are not, the errors in the decisions are not being caught, right? All of the catching of the errors comes at the very end. So you learn at the end. Why do you learn at the end? Because that's when you find all the mistakes. 1 million lines of code. And then you find, oh, I thought you meant this. No, didn't you mean that? No, I didn't. Oh, super sorry, right? I misunderstood. You put it in the world and the world doesn't like it. Right? All at one time, 1 million decisions, all at one time, right? So this is not a very good economic strategy to be learning late. But we can borrow from this. And what we want to do is make the mistakes in small packages soon. So we take small things and we take it to the world and we say, is that about right? Is that about right? Is that about right? No, that's not right. Is that about right? If you get that about right, then you add more decisions. So now is it about right? Is that right? Is that right? No, it's not. Okay, fix that. Now you add more decisions, right? So you're trying to save the money. And this is very important for government projects because the government always says we can't waste taxpayer money, right? But if you look at the previous slide, they're exactly wasting taxpayer money because they leave, there's a wrong decision, and they build on it, build on it, build on it, build on it to a factor of 10 or 1,000 times. Then they discovered that that was the wrong decision. So the way to save money is to find the errors early. And so we do that by doing small tap into the market, probe the world, integrate the stuff, scaling factors, performance factors, API compatibility, all the stuff. You do it early. Now, if you get this right, if you're lucky, you get learning that goes a little like that. So we learn early. That's really nice. Then we get a picture that looks like that. So the learning starts off, and so we get 2 periods. We actually get 3, but for now, 2 periods in the project. There's the first part where we're learning, the very first part. It's called risk reduction, and we're learning about things, and we're trying to catch the errors soon so that we don't throw too many decisions on top. Then after a while, we get a high value add, And then later we get less and less and less valuable stuff that we can add in. Right? There are 4 things that we're trying to learn about. The first is, what business should we be in? What business are we in? How does the world react to our business idea? If we're trying to get people to boil water in Africa because they have parasites, we have to learn the habits of the people. Why do they not boil water now? What are the things? You're learning about the business, the world. The second thing, of course, we learn about the technical stuff, right? In software, it's always about performance and scalability and compatibility and security and all of that stuff, right? The third one is the one that interests me, social learning. Did we hire people who can actually do the job? I'll just assume the answer is yes. The next thing is, it takes time for people to learn how to work well together. You see, I have my friend Andres here, so I'm going to use Andres as my example. Now, the first time I met Andres, he would always frown at me like this. So I thought he was angry at me all the time. So I didn't like talking to Andres because he didn't like any of my ideas. Now it turns out, right, so I go home. He doesn't like me. So now I frown because he doesn't like my ideas, so I don't like him. I don't want to talk to him. He doesn't like my ideas. So he sees that I'm unhappy because I'm always frowning when he's thinking. And so now he's afraid to talk to me because I'm always frowning because he's frowning. Right? But it turns out he was thinking. He wasn't frowning. I just said something and he was like, but, without the fingers on the head, it looks like he's frowning. So it takes time. It takes time to learn these things, right? So the third learning thing is super important. You have to learn how to talk to each other. I always do this first. My strategy on a project always is easiest thing first, hardest thing second. Because if we do the hardest thing first and we fail, I don't know if it's too difficult a job or the people just haven't learned to talk to each other. So we take a nice easy thing, we get the social protocols, we debug the conversations, the facial expressions, all of that stuff. Yep. When we have the social protocol working, now we can take on the hard problem. Yep. So I happen to do, not like the Scrum guys, I happen to do easiest first, hardest second, my preferred style. The fourth one is, how long is this going to take and how much is it going to cost? So you guys who do Agile, a lot of Agile people, especially programmers, they say, Agile means we don't have to give a date or a cost. That's wrong. Do not believe that. Agile is the only way to work if you have a fixed date or a fixed price. You do this. This is the strategy to use because you can steer your way to the best outcome for any date or any cost because you catch the mistakes early, right? So at the end, you have this wonderful part we call the tail. And you trim the tail. It's like the tail is full of little hairs and you can shave hairs off of your product, right? The example of trim the tail I like to use, say you're going to open a hotel and you're running out of time. You don't have to polish the doorknobs on the hotel, except maybe if it's the Ritz-Carlton. And then you don't have to polish all of the doorknobs to open the hotel. You see, that's the tail is very fine. You can always find little things to cut back on, right? And people do this in their ordinary life. If you do something in your own house, you're remodeling the kitchen or whatever, you run out of money, you don't just stop in the middle, right? You get the basic things, you get the kitchen counter, you get the cabinets. You don't have enough money to put some nice little decoration on the cabinet, that's fine. You put a piece of string, you can open the cabinet, right? That's trim the tail. So people know how to do this in their own lives. We just need to teach people to do this in a business setting, right? Trim the tail. So that's now, you see how we're putting this thing with decisions, which is the bottom layer of everything, and we start building on top of it, and we get interesting strategies. Now, this one is an example of catching mistakes early. And it's in English, and I'm going to show you the Spanish, and I have to take my life in my hands with the translation in this particular one. So I'm going to read it to you in English first, and then I'll show you what we did in the Spanish version. So this guy is ordering pizza, and the pizza place says, Brian, your next automated, no, I'm going to save our translator because she's never going to be able to translate this. So I'm going to put up the Spanish that we came up with because she can't possibly invent this on the fly. Okay, I'm going to read the English and then you can see what my friends did with the Spanish. All right. Brian, your next automated pizza delivery is scheduled for Saturday, February 25th at 12 p.m. To confirm, text yes. To decline, text no. This person, who I think is a software tester and is trying to obviously break the system, says, "Thank you, Papa John, you handsome man. I shall call you the Carbs Vixen." All right, translators, everybody get busy. So that's what we did. Gracias, Papa John. So su nombre puesto. Voy a llamarte Zorra de las Arenas. So, like, it's really funny. So it's a woman who's not in the software business who gave me those words, by the way. And then I took it to a couple of technical colleagues, one from Argentina and one from Peru, and they fought over this. No, you can't say sorry. And so I said, I don't believe you guys because you're two men. So get a woman. So we got a woman from the office, and we said, "How do you translate this?" She said, "Yeah, that's fine." Anyway, not my language. So of course, the automated machine says, "We're sorry, we didn't understand. Please confirm or decline." So this guy, complete terrible person, says, "When I make love, I imagine you tossing some dough shirtless. Cuando hago el amor, me imagino revoleando la masa sin camisa." I love this. This is not my language. But then the guy writes back, "Dude, che." Che. That's my word. I put che in there. "Dude, our automated system isn't set up yet. This is a real person texting you. I make minimum wage. Please just tell me if you want the pizza. El sueldo mínimo, por favor. Solo dime si quieres la pizza." So the point is that there's no programmer back there, right? There's no language processing system. It's much cheaper. You just hire a person, you give them a script, and when somebody breaks the system, they just, "Hey, I'm a person, just talk to me, please," right? That's an example of playing with the decisions early, yeah. I need to move on. I'm going to jump over that one. There's a thing I play with finances when I'm talking to high-level business executives, and I show how early delivery increases monetary flow, proyectos autofinanciados, retorno de las inversiones, and all of that. But I'm going to skip over that one for now. Not so interesting because I want to go and talk about culture. Very interesting things about culture. We already talked about bonus plans for executives. I want to jump into this one. Very interesting consequences here. There's a guy I know called Neil Nicolaisen. He's a CIO, COO person, been doing this for decades. And he uses 2x2 matrix. And he said at the bottom, he said, most companies operate using command and control. What happens is that the people who are working are not given ownership of the work. And there's not a lot of trust, quite frankly, you know. And we chose for the translation of this that we want to shift to a place where there's a lot of ownership, high trust. Right? You can read that. Aumenta confianza y adueñarse de sus decisiones. So that's where we're trying to go. And when I looked at that, I was thinking of a social theory from the 1970s called Theory X and Theory Y. So I'll give you very quickly Theory X and Theory Y, super fast. So Theory X is a term they use to describe the model of management from like 100 years ago. The idea was that workers are lazy, stupid. Management has to tell them what to do because otherwise they won't work. Now, it seems this might make sense in physical work. Like if you're shoveling coal, then the boss comes behind you and goes, faster, faster, right? You go faster, right? Adrenaline, like that. So for physical work, that makes sense. But for mental work, that doesn't make any sense because if you're trying to do some tricky thing in your head, and your boss comes up behind you and goes, faster, faster, right? Do you think faster? No, you go, ah! And the prefrontal cortex loses all blood supply. The reptilian cortex comes alive, right? There's a spider just dropped on your hand and you turn into a primeval creature hiding in the hole, right? And if your boss does this 3 times a day, there's no way you can work anymore, right? So mental work is fundamentally different, you know, what it says here. Trabajo mental va peor bajo presión. So theory Y is the opposite view from management. It says, okay, assume for a moment that people are motivated, they're reasonably smart, they actually want to do well. Mostly you just have to show them like which way to go and help them get some skills and they'll do fine. That's theory Y. So theory X is a pessimistic view of humans. Theory Y is an optimistic view of humans. But here's where it gets interesting now. Oh, I just broke my computer. Oh, that's exciting. What did I just do? I just turned off the computer. What did I do? I just blanked the screen. Please tell me I just blanked the screen. Please tell me I just blanked the screen. I pushed the wrong button. I killed it. Okay, so here's a picture of a company, and it's a publicly traded company. And what we have is the accionistas at the top, the stock market, Wall Street, right? And Wall Street puts terrible pressure on the board of directors of a company. Just terrible. It's all theory X. It's all force. It's all push. Right? So we have theory X there with those words that we chose to translate. Fuerza, obligación, control. But down below, at the bottom, we want quiet. We want the peace. We want some quiet space for the thinking to happen. Right? So that's theory Y. What happens is there must be somebody in the middle. One of the managers in the middle has to be what in English I call an umbrella. But in Spanish, to call this person a paragua doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I don't know. So we chose the word amortiguador, right? Shock absorber. I like the umbrella idea. You can see the umbrella, pressure from above, quiet below. Okay, shock absorber is another word. Somebody has to do that. Convert the pressure into quiet. And the better they do the job, the less you know. If they do the job perfectly, so if any of you have a nice, quiet life at the office, somewhere above you, some manager is protecting you. And you should find them and say thank you, because it's really a hard job, right? Has anybody, I'm looking at the ages of the people, we might have some people who've been in this position before, just out of curiosity. Has anybody been this push to pull umbrella? Yeah. You know what it's like. You have to absorb that stuff and pretend like, oh, nothing happened. You know, it's all good. Just keep going, people, right? It's a terrible place to be. All right, good deal. So that we get that. Notice how we get this. We're looking at culture, collaboration, right? Trust, ownership, and suddenly we end up in an interesting place. This is a new word. I'm just using this word. It's quite an interesting word. Liderazgo de los invitados, or in English, guest leadership. This is a very strange phrase. So you're having a party, and there's a host at the party, and the host at the party decides who to invite, how to set up the room, what kind of food, what kind of music, right? Then the people come, and the host, says, "Oh, you should meet Andres. Andres, you need to meet her. Like, you guys have something in common. I have no idea what. How do you find it? I have no idea. But that's the job of a host, right? So, what happens in many parties is maybe they run out of bread, right? You go to make a sandwich or something, and there's no bread. So you go in the kitchen and you find the bread and you cut the bread. You're a guest. You're not the host. But you take a moment of leadership. Just a moment of leadership. You cut the bread, you bring out the cheese. Here's one. It happens in the US a lot. I assume it happens in Argentina. You run out of beer or wine, right? So somebody says, I'll make a beer run. Who wants to come with me? Somebody organizes, or the three of us go. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? They suddenly take the leadership moment even of the guests. Right? So this fascinates me because if you look at a company, there are more employees than there are bosses. So what if every employee, at any moment, not because they have to, but just because they feel like it, takes the moment of leadership and just sees that something needs to be done? So now I'm going around the world collecting examples of companies where this is done. And I say, how do you do that? How do you set that up? So one of the examples is a company in Buenos Aires called Clear, started by Martin Alaimo. And I go and I said, Martin, this is amazing. You have this, your employees, you have liderazgo de los invitados. Every employee just does whatever they need. How did you do that? And it's a small company, I don't know, maybe 50 people. It's not so big, but he said, when we started to grow, I just made sure I wasn't present. I just made sure I wasn't there. So then they had to do something, didn't they? And then when he came back, he just could say, the only thing he could say was, thank you. So the people got in the habit of just taking care of whatever it was. They didn't wait for Martin to come back and ask him a question. They just did stuff. I found a bigger company in Australia called realestateassociates.com, which is the biggest real estate company in Australia now, all online. And the CTO, I asked him, how did you convert your company to Agile so fast? That's amazing. He said, whenever they asked for something, I just said yes. Oh, you bosses in the room, think about that, right? And they said, hey, boss, can we get some new piece of software? Yes. Hey, boss, can we sit together? Yes. Hey, boss, can we get some sofas? Yes. Hey, boss, can we put in a continuous integration machine? Yes. Hey, boss, can we store stuff in the cloud? Yes. Hey, boss, can we use sticky notes? Yes. Right? And after a while, the people, they're good citizens, right? Theory wide. And they just start doing stuff and it gets better and better and better and better. More ideas than he ever had. Everybody in the company was like, we could do this, we could do that. They got exciting place. We could do this, we could do that. And then they beat out the competition. So this liderazgo de los invitados is a very interesting thing. And you can find examples in ordinary life all over the place. In your neighborhood, somebody decides to start recycling. In the airplane, somebody helps somebody put a suitcase up top. I was in the Paris metro and 3 people help a lady with a big double pram and some suitcases, and they jump and they help take everything up the stairs, right? It's normal in life. But in enterprises, not so much. But I found this one online. I like this. You can read it. It was in Brazil. There was a family out at sea. They were having trouble. And somebody on the beach had the idea to form a human chain. It had 80 people making a human chain out in the water to pull these people back to safety. Now, whoever had this idea was just on the beach. Nobody. This was liderazgo, right? Crazy stuff. Made this whole 80-person chain. Afterwards, an hour later, they're just on the beach again. They're nobody. So this is perfect. This is perfect. This is what I'm talking about. So we have these ideas for how to increase collaboration. This is like collaboration times 2 or something. I'm going to jump over this. So we've codified movements to improve collaboration. I have this thing. It's a kind of a shoe level description of collaboration minute by minute. You can find these things online. You can buy them. Just for today, I'm going to jump over them. I'm just showing some places where you go when you play with these 4 words in the heart of Agile, and you dig into them a little bit. The last thing I want to talk about is that we're bringing in stuff from psychotherapy. So we're really bringing in things from different places. And I know in Buenos Aires, everybody goes to Freudian psychotherapist. Is it the same in Mendoza? No, not as bad. Not like Buenos Aires, but everybody in Argentina knows everything about psychotherapy. It doesn't matter what you do; they can give you the Jungian, Freudian analysis. What's the French guy's name? Begins with an E. Lacan. Exactly. I don't know him, but yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, very good. Yeah, so there was another school of psychology, psychotherapy started in like 1978, 1980, and it's called solutions-focused psychotherapy. And in solutions-focused psychotherapy, you are not allowed to ever talk about the problem. Now, when I tell my friends in Buenos Aires this, they go, no, I have to talk about my problem every week with my psychotherapist, right? And the problem with talking about problems, well, it's good for the psychotherapist because if you talk about a problem, you have a client for life. Because you will always have the problem to talk about. The people who do solution-focused psychotherapy have a problem. They fix people and they go away. They actually keep track of how many visits it takes before somebody is, I'll say fixed. They don't say fixed, I'll say fixed. 1.5. 1.5. Imagine you go to a psychotherapist, you say, I have this problem. The psychotherapist refuses to hear anything about the problem, but only talks about the future. What would the future look like if you didn't have that problem? How would you get up in the morning differently? How would your friends see that you were different? How could you tell that your friends could tell that you were different? How would you open your car door? How would your dog know that you were good? They do this for 1 hour and the person never comes back. Now, they have a problem. They have to keep getting more clients all the time. So sometimes people come back. And so the average length number of visits is 1.5 for people who come back a second time and they're done. It's incredible stuff. So we're borrowing from here, and we don't call it solution focus because actually you never talk about a solution. You only talk about the future. You only ask, what would you notice when it was going well? Well, I would notice that people were relaxed. I would notice that people would take time to answer. I would notice that there was silence in the room. I would notice that I could finish my sentence before getting somebody chopping me off, right? I would notice, and what's interesting is if you start noticing, looking for these things, then you can find them in tiny quantities. But if you look for them, then you're thinking about them, then you see them, then you start to do them, and you pull yourself into this different future, different than was before. So that's solution-focused psychotherapy, and then we use this in the retrospectives, or as I call them, reflection workshops. We just say, describe exactly what you want to have present. How does it look? How does it feel? What is the sound? What are the muscle tone? What are the indications? And as people describe this, they get pulled forward into the future. There's one more trick that the solution-focused people do. They always say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is perfection and 1 is like catastrophically horrible, like it's actually 0. I'll give you like +1 for nothing. 1 is 0. I don't know. I didn't make up that stuff. 1 is 0. Between 1 and 10, right? Where are you now? And what they want to show you is, oh, it's terrible. It's terrible, 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 terrible. On a scale of 1 to 10, oh my God, it's awful. It's a 2. Well, a 2 is not a 1. It means a little bit exists. Go find a little bit exists and name it. Here's a funny story. I was at this place. I was teaching in this place, and they made me teaching like the garage, and there were no windows. And so I was trying this like for the first time, and I said, "So name something that you'd like to have that you don't have." And they said, "Windows." And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? They were like 2, right? And then I looked around the room and there were no windows. I said, Kurtz, actually I need some air. And somebody like over there, turns out it was a garage. There was a garage door, goes and opens the door, and then lifts up all of the garages, and suddenly we had windows, right? So we were in a place with no windows, but it turned out we could get like windows, right? So you can find this. The other story I'll tell about this, I go to France a lot. Boy, I'm telling a story about France and Argentina. This will be interesting. So I've been going to France since about 2006, and every year they ask me, can Agile work in France? Every single time, they're worried about this. Can Agile work in France? And I go, so I studied this for about 8 years, and finally in 2014, I decided the answer was no. So I get that answer all the time. They say, hey, Alistair, can Agile work in France? I go, no. Then my friend Jerry Derbier, who does this future-focused stuff, caught me one day and he goes, Alistair, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is France in the doing of Agile? I said, oh, I know what you're doing. It's a 3. He goes, okay. So we have some already. What would it take to get to a 3.5? I went, oh, okay. So now I know the answer. Now I can't say no anymore because it's at a 3. I know how to get it to a 3.5. So when you do the solution focus thing, you see, oh, it's horrible, it's horrible, it's horrible. It's a 2.5. Okay. What would it look like what would it take to get it to 3? This is the technique, right? So we're using this technique now in the reflect and improve section. What I want to show you is this complicated. I want to show you that this is simple. And I'm just going to jump to the end, right? Life is complicated, but from time to time, we just make it simple. There are just these 4 words. So you can just stop sometime and you just go, wait, how are we doing on the collaboration? How can we improve collaboration? Any idea, every idea, it doesn't have to be written in a book. Relax, you know how to do this, right? Can we get smaller probes? How can we find the errors in the decision sooner? Right? What do we do with the reflection and improvement stuff? Where do we get our insights from? What do we want the world to look like, right? We just need these 4 words, and they're super rich and they apply to everything. Right? So that's it. And I want you to see that although I call it Agile, it has nothing to do with software, right? It's people making decisions together to put into a world that runs differently than they think. And this is just a very effective way to operate that. So that's what I have for you guys tonight. Thank you very much. So I don't know time-wise, but I'm willing to stay here for a few more minutes, and maybe some of you have some question, any topic, any level. I'll be happy to answer if I can. If I can't answer, I'll say I can't answer. Way in the back, that's good. Shout it out, man. Do I know a book or something? Yes. I know many books there. Give me a hint. A book about what? Well, so there's 4 topic areas here. I'll tell you a book that changed my life, that changed many people's lives. It's called The Goal, G-O-A-L, Goal, like Objetivo, by Elihu Goldratt. Do you know this book? Do you know the book? No. So this is the one that talks about decisions as inventory. He doesn't talk about decisions, but he's talking about production systems, bottleneck stations and queues and funny things. But he tells it in the story of a factory of a man who has a Boy Scout camp and stuff. It's a wonderful story, and it illustrates all of the stuff that I did with the queues and stuff like that in a really easy to do, follow way. I read this book in 1994, and it was like inside my head. Okay, so that's like the #1 book. The second book that I would recommend is a new book. It's called Host. This is the Host Leadership book by a guy called Mark McCargal. And this is the guy from whom I took his idea, turned it upside down, and got guest leadership. And his book is just called Host. And that's, I think every manager in the world should read this. If any of you are going to get promoted to being a manager, you should get this book, because he really describes very carefully the movements of a host at a party, and it describes beautifully how a manager should work, right? So if I give you 2 books, The Host for the manager cultural part, and The Goal by Elihu Goldratt. Good question. take maybe another one? Anybody down here? All right, that was such a good question. Yeah. Yeah. Sí. Exactamente. So there's a link to lean production now. I deliberately make it look like lean production. Like the whole point is that it looks like lean production. It's very surprising. With a pure mental activity, that it looks like lean production is amazing. The thing that changed me again, if we look for one more book that came out in 2012 called Lean Startup. And Lean Startup was the book like Agile, but it was for businesses. And they created the concept that you shouldn't build a product yet. You should figure out what the market can absorb. They found very interesting, creative ways to probe the market with fake products that didn't exist, or partial products, right? So they really had the concept that you want to do the least amount of work before you can check a decision, and very creatively came up with a lot of ideas that I didn't ever have before. So that was the other book that changed my mind. To find the mistakes earlier, using very creative techniques so you don't build stuff. The Lean Startup would be a good book. That's good. I'm holding you guys late. That was very kind of you. Thank you very much for listening.
Bueno, le agradecemos al doctor Alistair Coburn por darnos esta charla tan interesante y fundamentalmente por haber querido estar compartiendo con nosotros este rato. La verdad que es un honor para todos. Muchísimas gracias, Alistair de nuevo. Les recuerdo que mañana las actividades continúan para aquellos que son docentes e investigadores en la mañana, encuentro de docentes y de investigadores. Y luego continuamos con las conferencias a partir de las 16 horas, a las que comienza junto con nuestro congreso la jornada de diseño e innovación. Va a estar presente también Juan Pablo Zaramela, autor de cortos, tiene el corto más premiado en los Guinness y precandidato al Oscar, así que va a estar acá con nosotros y dando un curso el día sábado sobre motion y pixelación, para que tenga ganas de inscribirse. Así que bueno, mañana 9:30 de la mañana, los profes y los investigadores, y la tarde comenzamos la parte de las conferencias. Muchas gracias a todos, que descansen y nos vemos mañana si Dios quiere.